Welcome. Today we're going to learn how to write equations in standard form. Or in other words, we're going to manipulate an equation and change it from most likely slope-intercept form back to standard form. Sometimes mathematicians or textbooks, or if you move into higher mathematics, they want it in equations in standard form rather than slope-intercept. So as an example, well, first of all, let me explain to you exactly what standard form is, because it's very important you know. Standard form of a linear equation is in the form of an ax plus by equals c. Now, there's a, b, and c are numbers, and they're always going to be integers. Okay, all three of them will be integers. And there's one other restriction on a. A must be greater than or equal to 0. So it could equal 0, and then you just have a horizontal line, but A has to be, in other words, positive. So now remember, our slope-intercept form, just as a reminder, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Here, a, b, and c, and by the way, this b is not the same b as this, so don't confuse them. This b is not the same b. Actually, I think a lot of times they do capital letters on this. They'll go a, b, and a capital C. And usually I think the capital means that, they're integers. They're not fractions, they're not decimals, they will always be integers. And let's do an example, okay? So, and they'll start out very, very simple. They might give you an equation in slope-intercept form. So they'll give it to you, y equals negative 3x plus 4. And they want it in standard form, okay? Well, it's really not that difficult for the most part, because what you want to do is make sure both the x term and the y term are on the left side of the equal sign, and the number that doesn't have a variable next to it is on the right side. So for this one, I have exactly one step I need to do. I need this x term over on the left side. So I just add 3x to both sides. Now 3x and y are not like terms, so my actual solution would be 3x plus y equals 4. And that is actually my equation in standard form, where a is 3, b is 1, and c is 4. Now, it's important you put the x term in front of the y term as well. Now, let's do another very simple one, but again, one that students will tend to get wrong. Let's do this y equals 8x minus 8. And the reason they tend to get this one wrong is, again, we got to bring this 8x over to the left side of the equal sign, because remember, that's what standard form is. Standard has both the x and y term on the left side of the equal sign. So we're going to minus 8x from both sides. Now again, minus 8x and y are not like terms, so I leave them separated, and I write it as minus 8x plus y equals negative 8, because those cancel. Now, a common mistake students will make is they'll actually put the y in front of this, and they'll write y minus 8x equals negative 8, and that looks pretty much like standard form, but it's not, because first of all, the x term needs to be in front, and the x term needs to be positive. So this form would not be considered correct. They would mark you wrong. But now let's go back to this one. Well, if I have a negative 8, how do I make it positive? Well, it's actually not very difficult. What you're going to do is you're going to multiply both sides of your equation by a negative 1, making sure that you, in other words, change the sign on every single term. So this minus 8x times the negative 1 will become positive 8x. The plus y times the negative 1 will become minus y equals, and then the negative 8 times the negative 1 will become positive 8. And that is that top equation here written in standard form. Let's give you another one. They might give you something that's neither in linear nor standard form, but again, one that's not very difficult. They might give you 6y minus 7x minus 4 equals 0, right? So it's not linear, it's not slope-intercept form, but it's not standard either. This 4 is in the wrong spot. The 7x and the 6y are in the wrong spots. They need to be swapped. The x is a negative 7. That needs to be positive. So again, there's a couple things we need to do. We just need to add 4 to both sides to get that non-variable term on the right. I'm going to swap position of these two. So I'm going to write it as negative 7x plus 6y equals 4. And now again, I don't want this negative here, so I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by negative 1, which is going to swap the sign on every term. It's going to become a positive 7x. This will now become a minus 6y equals, this becomes a minus 4. And there's my standard form. Again, it's just simply manipulating the equations to get the x and the y term on the left, making sure the x term is positive, and the non-variable term on the right. Now, let's do the hardest type you might see. Well, actually, there's 2 more I want to do. Let's do one that might be in this form. You might have something like this: y minus 4 equals negative 7 parentheses x minus 9. That's actually called point slope form, which we'll talk about in the future. But again, to get it in standard form, and again, if you haven't written this down, I would write down that ax plus by equals c. That's the form I want to get it into. So I'm going to first distribute in this negative 7. So I'm going to have y minus 4 equals negative 7x. Negative 7 times negative 9 will be plus 63. I don't like the negative 7x on the right side, so I'm going to add 7x to both sides. And I don't like this minus 4. I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And I actually get 7x plus y, because those cancel. 7x plus y equals, the 7x's on the right cancel, and I get 67. And that happens to be in the right form. The x term is positive, and I have the non-x and y term on the right. Now, this next might require some more help in class. I'm going to do it one time, and if you still have trouble with it, definitely ask me in class. They might give you a simple equation. Whoops, actually that's a y. Well, it doesn't have to be a y, I guess. But minus 3/10 x plus 3/5. Okay. What makes this hard is these are fractions. We don't want fractions. So we can actually move this term over first, which isn't that hard. We can add 3/10 x to both sides. Add 3/10 x. Okay, those are not like terms. So we get a 3/10 x plus 9/4 y equals this 3/5. Now, the thing I want to emphasize is that equation in standard form, that ax plus by equals c. Remember, a, b, and c must be integers. Those aren't integers. Well, how do I get them to be integers? Well, I find the least common denominator, which 10, 4, and 5, the least common denominator would be 20. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by 20, which, in so doing, I'm going to distribute in, and I'm going to get 60 over, and now remember, this is 20 over 1, so it would be 60 over 10 x plus, now I'll distribute into here, 20 times 9, it's going to be 180 over 4y equals, now here, 20 times 3 is 60 over 5, and now guess what? All 3 of these fractions are going to simplify or reduce. 60 over 10 reduces to 6x plus 180 over 4 is going to reduce to 45y. 60 over 5 is going to reduce to 12. Now, all three of these are integers. But, again, there's one other small thing we need to do. These integers have to be as small as they possibly can be. What I mean by that is all three of these integers have a factor of 3 in common. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually end up multiplying both sides of this equation by 1/3. Because 1/3 of 6 is 2x. 1/3 of 45 is 15. And 1/3 of 12 is 4. Now there's no common terms in between the x term, the y term, and the non-term. And they're all integers, and this leading term is x. Again, if you need to rewind and watch that slowly, I recommend you do so. Again, if you want more help in class, please do ask, and I will help you.